Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. And for the first time in 2025, we're here celebrating a Derby County win. And I tell you what a win it was. A 2-1 win against John Eustace's old club, Blackburn Rovers. They turned it with their snakes. They went home empty-handed. What a result for the Rams. 2 early goals, and yeah, it was certainly some day. The atmosphere for the goals, I mean, I'd forgotten how to celebrate. I didn't really know what to do. But the atmosphere at the end as well, when that ball trickled slowly into Zetterstrom's hands as the ref blew the final whistle, was very, very special. And let's hope that's not the last one for a while. So joining me today to talk all things Derby, talk about everything that's been going on over the last few days, we've got Callum Boocock. How are you, mate?
I'm great, mate. I've had a great weekend. Sunshine's been out. I've been saying over the last few weeks, it's not over till the fat lady sings. And I will tell you that I had a good sing song on the way up to Pride Park, and then we got in one. So I will be doing the sing song on the way to every game from now on.
Sounds good. And I'll tell you what, I was listening to Radio Derby on Tuesday, and there's some delusional clown on called Callum Boocock. And I was listening to him saying we were going to get 4 points from the next two. I was like, oh, shut, mate. What are you on about? Cal, you were right. We're on track. We're on track. And we've also gone, I almost broke down then. Vic, hi. How you doing, mate? You okay?
I think I'm all right. I had a little bit of a scare before we started, but yeah, it's been good. Nice to celebrate 3 points and actually celebrate a goal. I forgot what it felt like.
I know.
Not just one, mate. Not just one.
I know.
Just two. We were spoiled.
In quick succession as well. Barely had time to recover from the first before we got the second. Vic obviously turned up 3 seconds before we went live as well in true Vic Singh fashion, which is always funny. But right, let's get on to the football, and we have to talk about the goals first, don't we? When was the last time we talked about a goal on here? It's been a while, hasn't it? I mean, both goals were actually really good goals, I thought. The first one, great free kick. Nat Phillips rose highest on his return to the team. Great header across. Marcus Harness, who I thought was really good in the air for some reason all game, managed to get the flick on across. Jerry Yates jumped in front of the keeper, who decided he didn't fancy it that day. And it falls to who else? Craig Forsyth. Great finish. It's actually a really good finish, wasn't it, Callum? He was on the turn, going away from goal. Maybe he needs to play up front. What a finish from Derby's. I guess I know people keep calling Mr. Derby Cat. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean it's a good finish.
Yeah, I mean Mr. Reliable, not only for his prowess in front of goal, but in terms of his service for the club. And yeah, well, I mean, what a person to go and get the first goal in God knows how long. And yeah, I mean, the intensity from minute one from the team was outstanding. We really put them on the back foot and caught them off guard with how quick we came at the blocks. And it meant that not only did we start the game so well, but it also put them under a bit of pressure because, the atmosphere for the first 10 minutes was amazing. Obviously, the goals then helped. But yeah, that first goal, the set piece, Nat Phillips winning, say the flick on, and then Yates making a nuisance of himself, which is what we need them to do, especially with the lack of strike force that we've got at the moment. And yeah, him and Harness were for the first 2 minutes in their press was really, really good and effective. It looks like Eustace has been doing a lot of work on the training ground in terms of that press and yeah, mopping up things. Actually, I'd say we've been saying not only goals but shots on target, XG in the box, and yeah, it was just really, really good because then it just took the pressure just lifted from the stadium because we were worried that Blackburn, that obviously the narrative going into the game was going to be an interesting one with the fan bases and as you said, the Blackburn fans and Eustace and his history. But yeah, it just lifted that entire weight, and then we obviously went and get on the second.
Well, that's it. And Vic, it was really important, wasn't it? Because Blackburn turned up in numbers for probably the first time in their history. And they were loud at the start of the game before kickoff, singing songs about Eustace, about Derby going down and everything like that. And we shut them up. We shut them up straight off the bat. The press was great. The way we moved the ball was great. We look at that second goal. I mean, I think the pass from Sondra Langos is being, I guess, missed a little bit because of the chaos that happened in the box. But it's a really good ball to put Harness in behind. Harness beats his man. Great ball across the box. there's the worst passage of play of all time over the next 3 seconds as it hits everyone in the world that's in that box. And it just happens to fall to who else? Ebu Adams. Hadn't had anything to eat, hadn't had anything to drink since I've been told about 5 o'clock in the morning. Actually, I put 6:30 on Twitter. It's actually even earlier, 5 o'clock in the morning, nothing to eat or drink. It was a very hot day as well, considering where we are in the year. I mean, Vic, how important was it that Derby got that second goal so quickly? And how good is it to see Ebu Adams score for Derby again with that armband on as well?
I think it's really important to get that second goal, just because I feel like when we've got a 1-0 lead in games, we're not really confident enough to sort of hold on to that. So it was great to see that we could get a second goal so quickly. But I think yesterday epitomised sort of Derby as how we've started all season, in terms of we're really good for 20 minutes and then we sort of peter off. Yesterday was the perfect sort of example of, we started well for the first opening 15, 20 minutes, but we got the goals, and that's the key thing here. I think the fact that we literally stung Blackburn twice and we knocked them cold after that, because they didn't know how to react to the way we were playing for the first 15, 20 minutes. Got the 2 goals, put us in a really great position. And in fairness, I thought we probably could have gone on to get a few more if we really wanted to. I think the fact that we got 2-0 up, I thought we probably took our foot off the gas a little bit, and that's easily done, especially when you're 2-0 up and you're sort of coasting after 9 minutes. But yeah, I thought it was really good for us to get the 2 goals so quick. It was really great to see Ebu Adams score, and I think we saw a similar sort of impact with Ebu when he joined this time last year, where he come in. I think it was your Ramadan again as well, and we saw a different side to Ebu, a much more disciplined sort of performance from him, and he really led the team. And he's going to have to lead this team through the trenches in the next 10 games or so. So it's nice to see him with the armband. Really deserved this goal. But I thought yesterday, the first opening 20 minutes is ideally how we'd want every Derby game to go, when we always go start on the front foot, get at the teams quick. And you can see what happened. We got the 2 goals and put us in a really commanding position after that.
Definitely. And Eustace said in his post-match press conference, he talked about the plans of the game. Obviously, we'll get onto the injuries a little bit later on, but he lost 3 players that he planned to start just a couple of days before the game. Ben Osborne, Kamar Roof, and who is the third one? Ryan Amby as well. Yeah. So he lost 3 players off the bat that he thought he was going to be playing in this game. And he said it didn't matter because they already had multiple plans. And we saw that, didn't we, Callum? Because Derby looked really organised. And it's been a while since it's felt like that. We made so many changes throughout the season of personnel, shape, different ideas that we've had. And Derby looked really, really organised. We obviously had a back 4 that kind of blended into a back 5 when Elder dropped deep to sort of complete the shape. And Harrison Armstrong sat as I guess, the holding midfielder, the anchor. A bit like a poor man's Busquets, I guess, playing in that position, but he played it really well. And then you had Ebu Adams and Liam Thompson in front, who were the engine, and they put the pressure on, and they helped the 2 players up top and the wing backs to actually press and get in the right positions and win the ball back. I mean, it was good to watch, wasn't it, Cal? Because we've seen this season, we've had players like Ebu playing really deep and things like that. But it was good to see us actually get on the front foot, get players into the box. If you look at both goals, I mean, obviously the free kick, you're always going to have players in the box, but you look at that second goal, Derby's got 4 players in the box. What did we talk about so much throughout the season? Handbrake, sitting back, not going for it. Derby went for it, and they looked like they had a plan too. I mean, it's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, it shows what Eustace and his backroom staff have been doing, and from what everyone's been hearing and seeing, the level of strategy and tactical nous that's been going into training sessions from the previous regime has just gone up tenfold, and each player looks like they know exactly what they need to do within the system to get the most as an output as an entire team. And I mean, the back 3 and the wing backs, and we were always looking at that combination of the central midfield as to what combination would work and who needs to have what round them. And we've been looking at Ebu in pivots with an additional player and struggling on the ball. in the system that we played, him and Thompson didn't need to be that ball playing central midfield. They could just rat around and get the ball back and win it back. And then Harrison could actually get the ball down, play it back around if he needed to. But in the system that we actually played, it was all about the trigger of the press. And as you say, the two central midfielders were helping the front two. It wasn't just Yates running around on his own and not being like the amount of times over the past 2 or 3 months where Yates is just running around, chasing a back four and in no man's land, and he's just been ineffective. Yesterday we saw, I thought, the best of Yates in terms of the press. There was, don't get me wrong, there was moments on the ball. He was lapsed,
an open goal, Cal.
Yeah, and an open goal. But in terms of within what we actually needed him to do and the system that Eustace employed, he was really, really good.
Yeah, and it worked, didn't it? And we've talked about it already, Vic. And I know there's people out there that are still very pro-war, and I get that, right? If you want to back a manager, back a manager. But I think Eustace showed yesterday he's just got that little bit extra. Simple things, goal kicks. How long? Well, the whole season. Derby have spent the whole season with Zetterstrom pinging a ball out to a wing back or Jackson or someone like that, smashing a ball out to one of them, and they miss the ball and it goes out for a throw-in. We did that so much yesterday. Sondre Langus, every single time, was on the wing. So whenever they played a goal kick or a deep free kick, he was always there in the wide position and he was winning the head. I mean, no centre mid or fullbacks beating that bloke in the air. And they were pinging balls over to him and he was winning flick-ons and we were keeping possession. And if he didn't win it, that meant the likes of Ibu Adams, like you said, Callum, the likes of Ibu Adams, the likes of Liam Thompson could trigger that press in the middle. They could win that second ball. And we've not had that for so much this season. We've always had players defending, really, haven't we? We've had players defending. We'll have one player go for the ball, everyone else get back, because if we lose it, we could get hit on the break. It was a lot more positive, wasn't it, Vic? And I think we saw that, especially in the second half, when we made a couple of changes tactically at halftime. Eustace came out. He said he made a couple of changes tactically. We sat a little bit deeper. We started to hit them on the break. And we saw what this Derby team can do.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's different variations. I mean, if we're going back to the age-old Paul Warne debate, that we'd have lost that game under him yesterday, no doubt about it. He'd have been pinging, Zetterstrom would have been pinging balls to Elder. Elder would have probably knocked it out of play, and before you know it, we're on the back foot again. But it's nice to see that we've, even with what the players he's got at his disposal, how he can work well with it. I mean, the fact of the matter is we've got so many players out injured at the minute, and yet he managed to still put a team out that got a result yesterday, which is really pleasing to see. Like we said, with this little things like the Langas flick-ons, it makes perfect sense for Zetterstrom to kick it to probably one of our tallest centre-backs who's actually playing on the right, was it on the right side of the back three? Yeah. It made perfect sense to me, because then Wilson could run onto it. Then you've got the midfielders could run onto it. You could flick it onto Yates. It's just something so simple but so effective, and that's what I like to see. And Eustace does have that tactical now. So I think we've just been missing all season. I think with that result that we've got yesterday, hopefully we can see more of it come to fruition. But it's just nice to see that we can mix it up a little bit and do different things, try different things, and not be afraid to do it. I think even at the start, me and Callum were talking about how we set up, and it, weirdly enough, it almost looked like a 4-2-2-2 to start with, which I've never seen the Derby sort of team ever play that before. Do you know what I mean?
FIFA formation, that is, mate.
That's what I mean. It's
all of us.
But like, even seeing Highness push forward almost like a second striker, it was nice to see that he was given a role that he could flourish in as well. So Eustace is the right man. He's shown us what he can do, and it's worked against Blackburn. Now we need to back it up in the next 10 games that we've got left. And I think if we can get a decent result against Cov, I think then we're really starting to cook.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last bit on Eustace, which I want to talk about. One thing he mentioned yesterday, which I thought was quite interesting, was the fact that he had Jake Buxton around. He wants him to be the link between the academy and the first team. It's nice to know there now is a link between the academy and the first team, because there's definitely not been one of those the last couple of years. But one thing that really impressed me as well is not just the fact that he comes across quite well in interviews, it's the fact that he really cares about Derby. And I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, again, you can't criticise people. I think it's hard to criticise Warne because last year, you could tell how much it meant when we won games and stuff like that. But it feels really nice to have a manager that, after the game, he's hitting the Derby badge on his chest. And it's only a little thing, but it looks like he's desperate for us to win. He loves Derby. He wants Derby to succeed. He's come to Derby during a pretty terrible time when he was flying up at the top of the league, and you can tell how much he cares and how much it means to him. I don't think we saw that too much for the rest of this season. I think we saw a man doing his job for the majority of the season, whereas now we're seeing a man loving his job. And Callum, I think that makes a huge difference. And I think it'll have an impact on the players as well, because again, we're hardly playing in the Premier League, are we? But if we were playing in a team and you turn around at the end of a game, a hard fought game that you've won, and you see the way, the manager celebrating with the fans, hitting the badge, you're going to think, yeah, I will fight for this guy. And it does make a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think, and it's nothing against Warne, because at the end of the day, there was passion there. He especially in the League One seasons, he was passionate about his team, and he was passionate about the lads he got. He made that group, and he was passionate towards the fan base. But I think there is a difference, and I think that it's plain to see when, not just at the end where you've got him walking around and like you said, smashing the badge on his chest, but it's like during goals, he's like walking up the touchline a little bit and trying to G up like the West Stand and try
kicking
and go
every ball as well.
Exactly, and like he's on the touchline for pretty much the entire time. He's not sat in the dugout for the first 10 minutes like Warne is and stuff. Like he needed to get the players intense and firing from minute one yesterday, because that's what was needed to get the result. And he was, like you said, kicking and heading every ball. He was trying to G up any player that was anywhere near him. He was trying to get messages across constantly. It was like you said, this is so much not just a project from a managerial perspective, like I said, from a job perspective. That he's looking at this going, I want to turn this club back to where I was playing in it, not where it is now. And you can clearly see that. And people criticise his interviews at being very repetitive and stuff like. We're not going to get the Warne interviews anymore where he goes talking off about stories and stuff like that and going off on tangents. It's going to be very to the point. He's here to do a job, but he's here to do the job for our club. And you can tell that it's an us against them mentality, which we haven't had in a long, long time.
Well, on the interviews, I much prefer interviews like that. I don't want a manager that's just cracking jokes all the time and stuff like that. I mean, I get it, and it was funny at the time, don't get me wrong, and there were some times when he said some stuff that was great. But when you got a manager that comes out and goes, look, this is what we did, this was our plan, we came up with different things, and he tells the story. He's not trying to entertain you. He tells you the story of what's been going on. I learned a lot in that interview. I mean, we've brought up loads, haven't we? The link between the academy, the different game plans, what he wanted from different players. Like, that's really interesting to me. I don't know, maybe I'm boring. It's possible. In fact, I am. But I find that really interesting. I think that's, something that I've definitely missed. But anyway, let's stop banging on about the previous regime. Let's talk about something that we really enjoy, and that's injuries. Derby are very good at getting those. Kemar Roof out for 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. And Yambi's out for about 2 or 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. Ben Osborne's out for 8 weeks with a hamstring injury, which was probably good for us. Salverson's out for the season with a knee injury, a mysterious knee injury. It's not an ACL. What could it be? Any knee surgeons or knee experts in the comments, please let us know. Mendes Lang's out injured, obviously missed last week as well. Vic, we're losing a lot of players. I don't really know what's going on at the minute. I mean,
lost.
I think at the end of the season, there's going to be some real questions about Derby's medical team, because how do you lose 3 players to hamstring injuries in the same day? How does that even happen?
Honestly, it makes you wonder why we invested in the medical team. I mean, we've probably got a medical 11 to play now rather than an actual 11 to play. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a strange one, because to date, I can't actually think of a season where we've had so many injuries and how much that's impacted the season. I mean, Langas will be out as well, because I think he's having a scan on Monday. So that's another player that's probably not going to be ready for the next 2 or 3 games, and it's quite worrying. But at the same time, I think Eustace knows what he's got to work with, and I think he's got the players at his disposal. And what's nice to see is he's actually looking into the academy players. I know it's sort of hands tied behind his back as well, but he's actually looking to bring quality through. We saw Lennon Wheeldon on the bench. We saw Charles, I can't say his second name, and I don't want to disrespect him by trying to. So
Agbawadikezu. There you
that
go,
is
Vic.
that
Remember
is
that one.
I'm coming to Jake every time for that now. We've seen players like that on the bench. Me and Callum have seen a couple of lads training, and they're part of the under 18. So it's nice to see that he's happy to try that. I'm really puzzled to see why we get so many injuries. And then again, do we look at just the medical team, or is it also the recruitment team we need to look at as well in terms of why we're signing Crocs? We seem to be signing a lot of players who've got injury records throughout their own careers. So I think a medical team will probably need a massive review, not even before the end. I think it needs to be done before the end of the season. It needs to be done now, because we need to find out why players are dropping like flies at the minute. But also the recruitment team need to put their hands up and look at who they're bringing in, because a lot of the players that we brought in are injury prone. Ben Osborne was injury prone before he signed for us. Langas, unfortunately, hasn't had a pre-season. Now he's got a knock. Same with Salverson. I reckon it's probably his meniscus that's gone, and he's probably had that surgically repaired, which means he'll be out for the rest of the season. He should be back for August.
Expert.
I've had mine done, so I've probably taken a stab in the dark at it. But there needs to be a complete review of behind the scenes as to what's going on, because that many injuries in a season like this, which hasn't been that demanding considering we've been knocked out of both cups quite early on as well, is a bit of a concern for me. So hopefully we can look into that before the end of the season and sort that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Callum has put a message in our private chat begging to add something to this. Go on, Cal. This better be good now. I'm excited for what you've got.
Well, for anyone who listened to the radio interview that Eustace did at the end, Colin plainly asked him and said, "What's going on?" And he basically said that at the end of the day, he can't talk about what's going on. At the end of it, there's been an inquiry behind the scenes, hasn't there? That when you look at the way it's happened, he's come in and gone, this squad has either been assembled incorrectly, or there is an issue with the medical side and what they're doing and the workloads and stuff. But he's automatically gone, look, we're just going to work with the players who are fit. I'll look at it at the end of the season. It is something that there is an issue. So there is something that Warne, when he was asked, would always prolong it and would never actually answer the question. It was all, and we've had injuries through it. We had 2 hamstring injuries within the same game. We had Dosanjh Brown and Kane Wilson, and now we've getting people getting the same injuries, but in training. So it's like there is a fundamental issue, but I think a lot of it is, as Vic alluded to, it is to do with the recruitment side as much as it is to do with the medical side, because the medical side would only get them back fit, whereas at the end of the day, if the players are injury prone and they've got a history of medical issues, then you're always going to have them propped back up, aren't you?
Yeah, it's medical and fitness coaches, isn't it, really, that are going to be the people that are going to be under the microscope, I think. Because, how many hamstring injuries have we had this season? I genuinely think we've hit double figures now.
I think we
can't be far off. I think we were on 6 or 7 at Christmas, and we had 3 in the last week. So, it's got to be something. But before we get into some of the players that we thought stood out, I'm just having a bit of a read of the comments. Kieran Newland talking about, how impressive it was to have a winger that actually beat a man and put a ball in. Marcus Harness did that really well. But again, that's all come from the chance he's got. We've actually put a ball in behind for someone to run onto. A lot of relief. I think the comments have got a lot of relief, a lot of nerves, a lot of relief. I think we're all feeling the same way, pretty much. But it's nice to see some positivity at Derby at the moment. So let's have a quick look at Derby's best performing players. Now, we've talked about Ebu Adams, who, again, I thought he looked jaded at times, but I'm not surprised. But he had a really, really good game. Obviously scored the goal. Harrison Armstrong, I know I called him a poor man's Busquets. That is not a negative comparison. I would love to be a poor man's Busquets. I think most players are that play in that position. But Cal, Armstrong was really impressive yesterday. I know there's a lot of... I don't know if he was questioned when he signed, but there was nerves. He's just turned 18. He's not exactly built, but he's quite a tall lad, and he gets stuck in. He won a lot of tackles yesterday, won a lot of battles, and his passing seems good as well. I mean, we've been talking about we want to hold in midfielders to sort of dictate the play all season, and he certainly did that.
Yeah, I mean, the concerns came from the Derby end. It didn't come from the Everton side. The Everton side, when we signed him, we're saying, please look after him. He's one of our most valuable assets, and you can see why he's highly regarded, why he managed to break into the first team, and why also there was probably an element of scepticism from Everton side in sending him out on loan to us. And I think that he's had to wait his time because of obviously Oza came back the pecking order, which is a shame because he's got the talent. And I think when you look at his ability on the ball, what you want to try and see is someone who's not afraid to take risks in that position, because at the end of the day, he's got to dictate the pace of the game from our perspective. I mean, there's some times that we didn't have the ball for large periods of the first half. He got it down and played it in, just even if it is backwards. I don't mind it in the elements of just trying to regain a bit of composure, because there was elements that me and Vic were looking at it going, we need to string 5 or 10 passes just to try and kill because there was a bit of momentum, obviously, especially when Blackburn got their goal back, where there was a bit of a momentum swing, and he just helps alleviate that. And that, combined with his ability to win the ball back and get stuck in, he's quite a presence. He is tall for his age, and people say he's a bit slight, that he needs to put a bit more muscle on. But I'm not being funny. He's 18. The confidence he has at his age, I anticipate him to be a real big asset for Everton moving forward, and I hope that he continues to play to the end of the season, because I think he's going to be massive for us.
He loves a good tackle as well, doesn't he?
He is.
He loves a good tackle.
Everton should just let him go, in my personal opinion. I don't think he's good enough.
It's under a long-term contract, isn't it?
They don't need him. They don't need him. One player I've not got written down, but I thought had a really good game, and again, one that had a bit of stick recently, Zetterstrom in goal. That one-on-one save that he made was absolutely unbelievable. Again, I don't think it's getting the credit he probably deserves for it, because if that goes in, the game completely swings, and it's a completely different game. And yeah, player running clean through on goal, and he makes a save with his legs, and he made another important save in the second half as well. I'm glad to see him get his confidence back, because yeah, if he's playing full confidence in that net, it's a lot harder for teams to score. I think he probably would have saved their goal, to be honest, if it didn't deflect. But Vic, the guy we have to talk about, the pod's best friend, it's Kane Wilson. We've missed him heavily, like really missed him. Yep. I mean, I like Ryan Nyambe, but he is the most negative fullback I've ever seen in my whole life. Whereas Kane Wilson is the complete opposite. I mean, the way he carries the ball, the way he beats players, he takes 2 or 3 players out of the game. He's really good at winning corners. I've never seen a player better at like getting a corner out of nothing down the right hand side. I mean, we've missed him heavily. We knew what sort of impact he could have, but he was at the top of his game yesterday, and if he continues playing like that, Vic, we've got a real chance.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just nice to see a bit of excitement from somebody that we use as an attacking outlet. It was great to see a player actually just take his players on, but when you watch him play, it's like watching a school kid just run through the playground. It's like it's just seamless for him, and it really, you just look at him and he just takes a player on, megs him, he's gone again, he's took another player on, and it just gets fans excited. And I think we haven't had that for months. So he's been injured. That's probably coincided with it all. But it was nice to see him go straight back into the team, straight back to his normal best. I think that was what was most important. There was a bit of worry in me thinking that he's starting. I thought, oh, please don't break down. Please don't get injured just because of the way we've been. But I'm glad to see he come on. He literally took the game by the scruff of the neck. He just literally played his game and looked like he was enjoying it while he was out there. Won so many corners, he beat his man numerous times, and it was just lovely to see someone that was just happy to go forward and take his player on. And now we know we've got that attacking outlet there. It's another option for Eustace, and I think he was pleased to get him back because he knows the quality that Kane possesses. So it's great to see him back on the field. And even back to the Zetterstrom point as well, I thought even his commanding of his area was spot on yesterday. He won pretty much everything in the air, caught everything, which is something he doesn't normally do. And his kicking was on point as well. So I'm glad to see Zetterstrom's back to his usual best, but going back to Kane Wilson, I'm just happy to see somebody take a player on, to be honest, and I'm glad he's back in the fold, and he's going to be a massive, massive player for these next 10 games if we can keep him fit.
Please give him a contract.
Yeah,
please, we need to sign him down to at least a 4-year deal, please.
I think that is entirely dependent on where we finish at the end of the season. There's no way Kane Wilson goes down to League One, but 4 points off, anything can happen, especially if we can play like we did yesterday. But now the problem is Derby have, no small feat on Tuesday. Frank Lampard's Coventry City. We've been a Frank Lampard's team. We've been Coventry up in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure I saw earlier they've won 9 of the last 10.
Yeah,
which is
he was 17th when he took him over.
Yeah, Christ, yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it? Maybe changing your manager in sort of November time does work, but he's doing a really, really good job, Frank Lampard. I mean, we saw him at Derby at the start of his management career. He seems to have refined himself a bit. A little bit nervous, not going to lie, but it's a really good opportunity for Derby to get that 1 point that Callum wants, or maybe even 3. So to give us a little bit of a preview, we've got Sky Blues Extra here, who are going to give us a little bit of insight into a Coventry team that just can't stop winning.
Hello, it's Ross Cooper here from the Sky Blues Extra podcast, and it's great to be on the Rams podcast today ahead of our tie against each other on Tuesday night at Pride Park. And I've been sent a few questions for me to answer ahead of that big game. Now, of course, we find ourselves in a really good position at the moment. We've performed well of late. This season obviously started pretty poorly. The last time we played Derby County, it ended up being Mark Robbins' last game in charge. Since then, we've appointed Frank Lampard, a former Derby County manager, of course, and we're currently on a really, really good run of form. We're going into the game against Stoke City on the weekend, having won 8 of our last 9 fixtures. So we're in form. We're going into that game in 5th place. Of course, the outcome of that game may affect where we are going into the Derby game on Tuesday, but things are looking pretty good. And probably the most exciting thing is about the players that we've got coming back fit. Haji Wright, our top scorer from last season and one of our best players, if not our best player. He is coming back. He played 30 minutes or so against Oxford last weekend, and I'm sure he'll get some more minutes against Stoke, and he should be ready to go. Efron Mason-Clark won Player of the Month in Lampard's first full month in charge of the club. He's back firing as well. And of course, Ellis Sims, he's starting to get form and gain confidence. And when he's confident, he's a really important striker at this level, and he really is a handful. Other players, in January we signed Swansea captain Matt Grimes, who statistically is in the top 3 centre mids in the division, and he is sort of taken to life at Coventry City like a duck to water. Really, he's taken that quarterback role. He's so comfortable in possession, and he really has enhanced how we play as a team and our overall quality as well. In terms of weaknesses, we do lack a little bit of depth in a couple of the fullback areas. Our first choice left and right back are very good. Jake Bidwell on the left and Milan Van Eyck on the right. But if we were to get an injury in that area, also with the demands of playing pretty much every minute of every game for Milan Van Eyck on the right hand side, sometimes he can be exploited, if it's due to fatigue or whatever else. And our defence as a whole, although has improved drastically under Frank Lampard, still has a mistake in it, still is susceptible to sort of being, having a brain fart, if you like, and being caught out. So if Derby County are to get the better of us or take advantage, very much like the game at the CBS earlier in the season, it may be pouncing on mistakes, putting us under pressure so we make more mistakes. And I think that, is certainly something that I wouldn't rule out from our point of view. In terms of a prediction for the game, well, I think we're in good form at the moment. I expected a bit of a bounce from Derby when John Eustace was appointed. That's not happened as of yet, which makes me a little bit nervous. I think, I would take a point, actually, at Pride Park. What do I think it will be, though? I'm going to be confident. I've got to. I'm going to go for Derby County 1, Coventry City 2. And I think, we don't keep that many clean sheets, but we have got some firepower, and I think we will score some goals. So that's my thoughts. If you want more, you can check out at Sky Blues Extra. And best of luck for the game and for the rest of the season.
Wow, he did all the extra bit at the end. I don't even need to do it myself now. So thank you very much. That was very, very interesting. I mean, Callum, it was definitely interesting, but we know already how tough it's going to be. Hearing that makes it sound even tougher. You know, they do struggle a little bit at the back. I mean, we saw it. I watched their game, or at least a fair bit of their game on the Saturday before going to see Derby, and they looked unbelievable at the start of the game. But as you said there, they actually really struggled and ended up throwing away a 2-goal lead and only ended up winning due to a 97th minute winner. So they're a really good side. They're on a winning run, Callum, but there's a chance.
I mean, there is, yeah. I mean, it's another game that's got a lot of elements of a bit of bite about it, because it's the first time that Lampard's come back to Pride Park since he left, because obviously he went to Chelsea and obviously did his career and everything like that. But I think also, as he's alluded to there, they concede goals. I mean, they conceded 2 in the last 2 games, 2 against Stoke, obviously are down there with us, 2 against Oxford, 1 against Preston, 1 against Sheffield. So they haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 4 games, can count. And you look at it going, well, there's an element. Appreciate we've only just scored 2 goals for the first time in God knows how long, but there's an element they are susceptible to mistakes. And as you say, at the game against Stoke, that they, even though they were winning and looked comfortable, Stoke were easily then peg them back, and obviously one of them being a set piece, which obviously we've proved that we're very good at. So yeah, I think the atmosphere is going to be a big thing as well. It might be they're bringing out a sold out away, and so it could be just a very, very similar case to Blackburn. And obviously, we managed to get the right side of the result. So if we can do the same thing again, and hopefully get that point to make it 4 in that week.
Yeah, I mean, Vic, how important is it that Derby build on this result? Because we've seen it all season. We'll have one good result and then lose the next 3, and we can't afford to have runs like that. So how important actually is it that Derby take this result and, you know, face Coventry, a team in the playoffs, a team in amazing form, and really give them a game and get ourselves at least a point on the board?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got to back up the performance that we put in yesterday with the performance on Tuesday, because otherwise it sort of goes in vain. The lads worked hard. We got the 3 points, but we're in that squeaky bum time now where we need to pick up points, get them on the board. If we do want to survive, we've got to literally take it 2 teams now. I think what's interesting about Coventry is we know what Frank Lampard's style is. I think in the sense that Lampard's philosophy is score more goals than the opponent. So you know that they're going to be quite open at the back. So I reckon Tuesday might be a bit more of a game of chess, I think, between the 2 managers. I think Eustace might have a different approach. I think you might want to sit back a bit more, soak up a bit of pressure, but really hit him on the counter and sting him. I think that's what we're probably going to see from our end. But we've got to be brave. We've got to be physical. We've got to match every ball. We've got to win every 50-50. Pretty much what we did against Blackburn, but be a bit more methodical, because I just think that the way Lampard's teams like to play, and I think it was evident against Stoke as well. They get a couple of goals. They don't get complacent. Well, they do get complacent because they tend to open up the gaps at the back. But we've got to be clever enough to sort of exploit that now. I think there's enough personnel there. We've got a bit of pace in the side. I think we can really put it to them if we need to. But we just got to be clever about the way we play on Tuesday. Don't be scared of them, but just take that extra pass if you need to, and just be more methodical with your approach. So we've got to back up the performance. We've got to start putting the run together either way, because there's only 10 games left, and when there's only 4 points in it at the minute, or 3-4 points in it, it's still on. So we've got to keep believing. We've got to keep going. So as long as it's like that, and we get to Tuesday, irrespective of what good form there, we tend to do better against the sides that are at the top end of the league anyway, when they like to play football. So hopefully we can do our job, do the business, get a point. But I reckon there's a real good possibility we can get all 3 here.
God, we don't say that very often this season, do we? Let's hope you're right, Vic. I mean, Callum, how would you set up, mate? Same as Blackburn?
Yeah, I'll go 3-5-2. I mean, there's an element that Eustace trying to get at his own back on Lampard. He played obviously under the Blackburn crest and lost 2-0. So I'm sure he wants to get his own back against Lampard. So yeah, I'm anticipating the same, pretty much maybe the exact same starting 11, unless there's been any injuries. Obviously, Langas probably the only one. So you'd probably say Clark will come in for him, and maybe a few more faces from the academy just to fill up the bench.
Vic, if Langas is out, how do you set up the three?
Well, it's got to be. Well, what was interesting was Matt Clark when he come on went to the right, being left-footed. So I think,
I think that was just so we didn't change it. Sorry to jump in. I think that was solely because the other two were playing well and they didn't want to move them around. But
which makes sense. But then I think that we can't start in there. I think we'd have to play probably Phillips on the right side of the three, and then probably put maybe Clark or Foz in the middle. I'll probably put Foz in the middle just purely for his lack of pace, and put Clark on the left of the three. I think that's probably the best way to set it up. I don't think we can afford any more injuries. But then we've got Jake Rooney involved as well. If we really need to bring somebody on, but I think that's how I'd set up that back three, and then obviously have your wing backs with Elder and Wilson.
Yeah. To be fair, the only change I'd make, I think I'll put Clark in the middle. Put Fozzie on the left. Fozzie's been a fullback for most of his career, hasn't he? So at least he's more experienced. And when you've got Mason Clark and players like that running at you, they're very dangerous, whatever side they're on. That'll be the interesting thing, is how Derby's back three, if Langas isn't fit, deal with the pace that Coventry have, because Phillips wouldn't be able to deal with it. I mean, I think we got away with it that this is Cargbo who's playing on the wing for Blackburn. Got flattened in the first 5 minutes and had to come off because he was causing real problems down Derby's right-hand side. So, yeah, let's hope we can deal with the pace that they've got. And as we know, they've got a really good team, really good technical team, but they will leave gaps. And it's those gaps that Derby exploited on Saturday. So Derby are going to have to do the same again against, let's say, much better opposition because, Blackburn weren't very good, were they? So I want your score predictions in the chat now. If you've got one, please let me know your score predictions. Please let me know your goal scorers. Jim's already put one in, which is delusionally ambitious, Jim. I'm not going to lie. So starting us off, we've got Callum, Boocock. Go on, mate. Go on. What are you thinking? I've full named you now, so you've got to give us a really good prediction.
Well, look, let's go at it, and there's been a lot of emotion has probably come out of the players. It was probably a massive exhaustion on Saturday and relief. So let's back it up and start from the off, because we're going to need to, because Coventry are going to be a much harder outfit, in my opinion. So I'm going to go 1-1, just then I can tick off that we've got 4 points and laugh at everyone who had a go at me for doing it on last Tuesday. So I'm going to go 1-1, and I will go. I'll go Clark from a corner.
Nice, that would be nice.
Not straight from the corner.
Yeah, he's going to take the corner. That'd be nice. Nice in swinger. Vic, Singh, go on. What are you thinking?
Go on, let's be delusional. We'll go for a 2-1 Derby win. I just think we'll back it up. I think we'll do. I think in these sort of circumstances against these sort of teams, we tend to pull it out the bag. I would have said 1-1 before that, but Callum's already said it now. So let's mix it up. We'll go with the 2-1 Derby win. We'll go with Jerry Yates to finally break the duck, because I think he's on a really bad run. No, actually, he scored against Norwich, didn't he? So, he could probably do with a goal from open play, and we'll go with the Matt Clark header in the 90th minute to seal all 3 points.
That would certainly be nice. And I feel like I'm in a position where, if I can't agree with you guys, I'm going to go 3-2 Derby. I'm going to go 3-2 Derby. I think Coventry have got goals, but they've also got gaps. They've just won 3-2. They need a 3-2 defeat. They've won 9 in 10. That's too many points. That's not fair. We need some points. We deserve some points. So for that reason, I'm going to say, I think it's going to be 3-2 Derby. Goal scorers. You know what? I think Nat Phillips header from a corner. I think, again, Jerry Yates is going to find the back of the net. And I tell you what, this is the most ridiculous thing I'm probably ever going to say. I think Jackson's going to score the winner. I think Jackson's going to come off the bench and score the winner. It's going to be the worst goal we've ever seen. It's going to take 15 deflections, go in the back of the net, and Derby will win, and Caden Jackson will be the hero, and his price of his signed shirt will skyrocket for the next game, I'm sure.
Are you sure you had paracetamol for that?
I'm
sure you had paracetamol for that headache you had, mate.
No, mate. It's I just Caden Jackson. It's his time when he completely missed the ball and passed it to them for them to hit us on the break. It made me believe, there's something in there. And then in the comments we got Darby says it's gonna be 1-1, and then Jim, whose prediction was genuinely quite impressive, of Derby going to win 6-2. We've scored 5 goals in 2025, so that would be nice. That would be very welcome if we could do that and over double our one. But yeah, I was guy in the comments. Sky Blue Sam says that Coventry haven't won at Derby since 2003 until Tuesday. So let's hope that it stays that way. So thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do rate us on whatever you listen on, especially if it's 5-star. That's very welcome, and we'd all be very, very grateful for that. If you've got any thoughts on what we've talked about, please do leave a comment, especially if you're listening back. We read all of them, respond to all of them, so it's always a good community to be a part of too. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Up the Rams. We've actually won a game, which is great. Goodbye from me.
I told you, Fat Lady sings, we got to win. The Fat Lady's going to sing again. I'm going to be singing on the way to Pride Park. Don't you worry. Goodbye from me.
Is it back on? I think it is. Goodbye from me.
Survival. Who'd be saying that if we were looking at this on Boxing Day, 8 points clear? We could stay up. It could happen. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys in midweek.